Evention wants to ensure we can empower you and your users through your tips and gratuities process. So your dashboard is the new front door to tips and gratuities. Specifically, Evention is providing a streamlined experience to ensure successful data imports, assist in data review and validation of your tips and gratuities distributions, and initiate your close and export process for payroll integration, all accomplished from your dashboard. Now, a little peace of mind for everyone here. Your current classic tips and gratuities experience is and will continue to be available simply by clicking Go to Classic. You can see that in the top right circular image. Simply click Go to Classic and you will be instantly routed to the landing page you're familiar with today. So your dashboard is the new front door. It provides you the insights into data imports, total and summary distributions, and allows you to close and export from one convenient location. All right, so let's dig into the data your dashboard provides. The first thing to call out in the top right, you can see in the image there that the data is still separated as you would expect by pay period. And so what we've added there is that open indicator. This tells us that the pay period has not yet been closed and exported and processed for payroll. So you can click on that pay period dropdown. You can navigate amongst your different pay periods. Typically those are weekly or bi-weekly. And then you can also see a closed indicator. So if the pay period had already been closed, you would see a closed icon next to the pay period date range. And so your tips and gratuities process really begins with validating successful data imports. And that's what this image focuses on. Tips and gratuities integrates with your source systems. So that's your point of sale, event management, time and attendance, all of your source systems of record, and imports your raw data into tips and gratuities so that tips and gratuities can perform the calculations and the distributions and really create that data value for your payroll process. And so it starts with the validation of imports. And here you get a snapshot of your imports, both as a total success across the pay period, as well as broken down by type. And so in this image, you're seeing both the dollars and the hours imports represented from those source systems. And so this gives you the peace of mind right on your dashboard to know that the data you would expect to collect for your pay period, both your dollars and the hours, were successful. Also notice in the top right there that you have the option to go directly to your imports page. So you're probably all familiar with the imports page in your classic experience where you can see the import records, the histories, access files, manage unimported items. So you can simply click Go to Imports and you'll be navigating right to that import page experience. Okay, so the total tiles, top right of your dashboard. So these assist in performing your initial review of the collected and distributed amounts right here from the dashboard. So the total source amount is commonly the amount that you may be comparing to your source system. So your imports completed successfully and $2,030.34 was collected from, let's say, your point of sale system. This is the value that you're probably comparing to that point of sale system as your validation that yes, the total is correct, the numbers match. Right next to that, you have your total distribution. So what portion of that total source amount is being distributed? In this example, what's represented is probably like a service charge example where you're distributing 95%, the house keeps 5%, good for the house. But we're showing the total source amount collected, the portion of that being distributed or actually paid out to your employees, and then yes, that distribution percentage of 95%. Oftentimes your distributions are based on hours, so you also get a snapshot here of your total hours. So if you have an hourly pool of some sort, you can see the hours that were imported and you can see that build throughout the pay period as well. So that's what your total tiles provide, that summary in the top right of your dashboard. Okay, so we've looked at the imports and the total summary, and now in the bottom left, the distribution summary allows us to kind of dig a level deeper. So you have your total source amounts and your distribution amounts side by side by type. And so depending on your distribution and your configuration, you might have different types of earnings that you distribute. Service charge, tips, food sales, beverage sales, commissions, all those types of variable pay that are configured in tips and gratuities, those are represented here in the distribution summary. And so we saw the total amounts in the top right, and now you see how that starts to break down by type in the bottom left here, the distribution summary. You can think of this as your current check amounts and your check distributions within tips and gratuities. Notice there's a table and a chart toggle there within the distribution summary. So if you'd like to just see the data in columns and rows, that's what the table would provide. The chart gives you a bit of a visual here, showing you the collected and distributed amounts by type. And so then in the bottom right, you have the job summary. So probably the most important aspect of your validation in tips and gratuities. So you've looked at the totals, you've validated how they break down by type, and now we're focused here in the job summary on how they distribute. And so that's broken down here by position. And so you can see the dollar amounts across your servers, bartenders, your other positions. You can see their total hours, and then the distribution amount per hour, or the tip point, which is always a fan favorite metric. And so you get that breakdown of that distributed amount and how it's allocated amongst your staff, and it gives you that information that you need for reconciliation purposes. Another opportunity here to view the data in both table and chart format. And so here you see the pie chart giving you that overview. All right, so at this point, the dashboard has helped us efficiently perform the important steps of validating successful data imports, as well as validating the collected and distributed amounts. And so now we're ready for the really fun part, the close and export for payroll integration. And so what you see here on the screen are probably the familiar export options that are available today. The pay period that you will be closing and exporting is represented. The exports that will be processed, you probably have one default export, but at times you might have a secondary export, maybe for adjustments or borrowed labor are separated into a separate export. So you see the defaults that are selected here under the exports dropdown, and then you would be able to select any secondary exports that may not be configured as a default as well. Like I said, adjustments, borrowed labor are common. And then the notes section is optional. So oftentimes you want to leave your note for yourself or your colleagues. This is attached to the export record for the pay period. And what we've added at the bottom is that checkbox that's indicating a sign-off acknowledgement. So as the user performing the close and export, I get a last chance to validate that yes, I am performing the close and export for this location for this date range. And so you click close and export. You have this wonderful rocket ship animation while the data is processing. And then you have your successful confirmation and your export receipt. And your process is done. So you've logged in and accessed the dashboard. You were able to review and validate the data and perform the close and export for the pay period. I should also note that the dashboard is responsive on all devices, meaning that it's designed and developed for mobile and tablet usage. So perhaps you're out there on the floor managing your guests and your employee experience, and employee questions their tips or their earnings. You can pull up the dashboard on your phone or on your tablet. You can review the information in real time. You can view old pay periods again if you're looking for specific records and distributions. So it's meant to assist you on the go. No app required, of course, but it is now designed and developed for phone and tablet usage.